It looks like Toronto has the momentum. Coming from Toronto and going to the US to play this game, they should be able to grind it out. Hello guys, this is Tyrone Njobi, your host on London Access Maple Sports. And this Saturday, just chilling, and I feel that I should tell you guys a little bit about some of the updates that are happening within the NBA. Right now, I'm just enjoying a game between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics. With the way things are going, they're most likely to deal with that team. The Boston team has I just heard this morning that Jason Tatum was injured and he had a stiff knee and he won't be able to play in this match. And, the game started without him. There's a lot of pressure on the entire, cast, people that are available to play the match. There's a lot of pressure on them. But one thing I can say clearly is the 76ers have been given some kind of life. A lot of life has been injected into the team since when Embiid came back. And one thing I can say clearly is Embiid really wants to win, even though I know he's not 100%, but he's giving the team everything he has. And he really wants to win. But that being said, I really wish the 76ers luck. They were able to push it to a game 7, and the game 7 looks like it's going in their favor. Even though they are playing in Boston, Boston probably will have a way of rallying around because they have their fans around them. But I don't see them coming back. All I can say clearly is the 76ers are going to be a big threat. And once they finish this, they will be meeting with the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks, congratulations to them. They were able to make very easy work of the Atlanta Hawks, and they were able to get it done in in 6 games. So they have a little bit more time to rest while waiting for the 76ers to get it done today. But if the 76ers are able to make it out of this game 7, they will most likely find it very easy to get rid of the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks played extremely well in the game 6. If that version of the New York Knicks that played in the game 6 goes ahead to play the 76ers, then there's something that we need to be worried about. However, one thing I can say off my head is the 76ers are beginning to get that rhythm. VJ come together with Tyrese Maxey managing that backcourt is really, really gelling well for them. And Embiid does not really need to fight for too much rebounds because they already have a structure that is protecting him from getting injured. All he needs to do is do more mid-range and try to do a little bit of post-up and wait to do some kind of 2-man game with Tyrese Maxey. And I like the way VJ is really clicking well in this series. And that's why they give themselves life. But shout out to them as they move on. They will most likely win today because I was catching up with the game a few minutes ago. They will most likely win today. But, shout out to them and hopefully they're able to go ahead and get it done. On the other side of the Eastern Conference, I was also surprised to see what the Toronto Raptors did. It's magnificent to see them fight like that in front of their fans. Toronto fans, they're one of the most aggressive fans that I've seen ever in my life. And because you have just one basketball team in Toronto, they've been able to galvanize the fan base. So the support is massive, especially if you get to watch the game in Toronto. But that being said, that final shot that came from RJ Barrett was a major one. Shout out to him. I'm really happy for him. And hopefully they're able to go to Cleveland, Ohio and get it done in game 7. On the other side of Cleveland, it would be a big disappointment because they were able to, take a big risk by bringing in James Harden so that they can get to a final without putting a lot of pressure on their best player, which is Donovan Mitchell. But so far, they're playing well, but it looks like Toronto wants it a bit more. I really don't know what will happen in game 7, but it looks like Toronto has the momentum now. And at the end of the day, they'll be able to push themselves a bit more to be able to get over the line. But let's still see how it goes. Yes, guys, yeah. So back to Toronto. I really like the way Toronto is really moving. The series started with them losing 2-0, all in Cleveland because their first 2 games, it looks like they were not getting the rhythm. But when they went back to Toronto, they won their next 2 games. Then I knew that a series had been born. After winning those 2 games, they came back. They lost again in Cleveland. It was quite close. They lost by, I think, 4 points. And they went back to Toronto and they got it done. And now they've been able to force a game 7. Same thing with the Detroit Pistons. They are really trying their best to show that, they are number 1 and they shouldn't go out in the first round. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. And I like the way teams in the East are fighting. It's a bit different from the West because the West is a bit clear. No team was able to push to a game 7. Minnesota will go and face the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs correctly. But that team is is tough because I see OKC and San Antonio Spurs getting to the final. They have to dug it out because number 1 and 2 in the West are the best teams so far. So it's like a done deal. They already know the teams that are going to get to the final. Is an OKC San Antonio Spurs final is a very clear in the West. And whoever wins it wants those to get to the final because I see it going to a game 7, except when Biyama becomes a monster and he takes over the game. That's the only reason why it will end in a game 6. But I see more of a game 7 in that matchup. So back to the East, I think clearly if you look at the East, a lot of teams are fighting for their lives. So we have 3 game 7s that will be played. The only matchup that has already been decided is the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks have already finished their series in 6 games and they've defeated the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks, I like them because they tried their best. They showed us a glimpse and they moved it to a game 6. And this was the first time an Atlanta Hawks team will be depending on like his CJ McCollum, who is a shooting guard naturally, to really take the team to their El Dorado. So I really like what I'm seeing from Atlanta Hawks. I think I'm going to watch out for them next season. They'll be a very dangerous team. So that being said, the other game 7s now, we have the 76ers digging it out right now against a very good Boston Celtics team. But unfortunately, they don't have Jason Tatum with them. He had a stiff knee. So they'll probably have to go ahead and, find a way to fight without him. But I don't see Boston getting out of this. I see the 76ers going ahead because they're already leading by 10. And last time I checked, so they'll most likely come out of this tie in game 7. And it's going to be a big record because I think it's a long time, us seeing a team come down from 3-1 since when LeBron James won it in 2016. This is the first time, and that's 10 years ago. First time a team comes back from 3-1 and won the series, even though it's happening in the first round now, not in the final. So it's a big achievement for the 76ers. It's been a long time that has happened. That being said, if you look at the other game 7s that are coming up, especially in the East, Toronto will be digging it out with Cleveland in Ohio, trying to see how they can fight. But it looks like Toronto has the momentum. Coming from Toronto and going to the US to play this game, they should be able to grind it out and make sure that they come out with a win because they really have what it takes. They have the pedigree and they can fight. New York, they are already okay. They made things light in their own way. They just made the series look very, very easy. So definitely they can just go ahead and enjoy themselves. Now the Detroit Pistons have already pushed a game 7 against Orlando. Orlando caught fire in game 3 and game 4. Even though the game has not been fairly balanced because Cunningham started the series a bit weak, but later was able to catch fire and help the team to push it a bit to game 7. But looking at Duran has not really given me that bite that he had in the regular season. And that's why there's a bit of a problem going on. So I see Pistons being a bit on the weak side, even though they're going to be at home for a game 7. And that's what happens when you're number 1 in the Eastern Conference. But with the way it's going, it looks like Detroit Pistons are going to be at home, so they have the comfort of their fans. But Orlando looks like they have the momentum and they have 1 or 2 players that can switch it up a bit, like Desmond Bain can switch it up a bit. You understand? But the setback they have is the injury to one of their key guys as well, which is going to be a big problem for them. So I want Banchero and Bain to be able to carry the team and help them just push it a bit and see if Orlando can surprise everybody because this will be the first time a team in 7th and 8th, apart from Miami that did it, I think 2 years ago, a team 7 and 8 getting to the final will be a big surprise. I don't see Orlando getting there, but at least they look like they have more of the momentum. And Cunningham, I don't see him as 100%, but he's trying his best to help the team. So that's it. Generally, we have 3 game 7s happening in the first round, just in the Eastern Conference alone. The Western Conference, it looks like the difference is clear. The best teams are already, we already know who's going to be in the final in the Western Conference. It's Oklahoma City Thunder and San Antonio Spurs. Those 2 teams are waiting for each other because it looks like Wembanyama is waiting for them. He wants to show them. So I see Wembanyama, making light of Minnesota in the semifinals easily. Then the other side, I see OKC dealing with the Lakers. The Lakers tried, they took out the Houston Rockets, and it's quite disappointing because there were a lot of expectations for the Houston Rockets team. And sometimes if you look at the individual accolades that Durant has had this season, this is the same year he entered top 5 in the scoring record, which is a very good year for him. This is the same year he averaged at least above 24 points per game. In another good season, he was the best scorer, the best player all round in the Rockets team. So his presence was really felt in this time when they needed him the most. But one thing I can say generally is the joy is they're having a proper point guard coming back from an Achilles injury next season, and he would be able to help the team. At least we all know that an Achilles injury takes about 7 to 9 months. So that was why their starting point guard missed the entire season. I'm happy that he's back. He's really doing well, and he will be able to really come in and help the team next season. I'm really looking forward. I'm really looking forward to a wonderful season for them next season. They shouldn't make any structural changes. But one thing I see, Rich Shepard has also improved. This season, he also tried in the postseason, but he's still young. They still need to get it done. Ime Udoka is still a very good coach. Alperen Sengun needs to step up even next season because Kevin Durant signed a 2-year deal. So you can't have Kevin Durant for life. You still need to be able to sustain. So probably Houston Rockets should be able to go for 1 or 2 more trades that can solidify them because depth is very, very important for any team that wants to get to the final. But with the way things are going, I like the structure. They have a good coach. They have a generational talent in Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant cannot be in the league for another 2, 3 years. He will most likely leave and retire on a high. But the good thing is you get that joy when you get the opportunity to retire with one more championship. And I'm really happy he moved to Golden State at the time he moved to Golden State because he now had the opportunity of, clinching 2 championships and getting 2 finals MVP. And that's why he's still part of the conversations everywhere in the world around top 10. Some people see him as top 15, but I see him as a top 5 player because I didn't get to watch a lot of the older guys. Maybe I watched a bit of Magic Johnson, but most of those guys in that generation, I didn't watch a lot of them. But I watched Michael Jordan, definitely. He has always been that generational name that changed the landscape when it comes to basketball. So that being said, I'm looking forward to the semifinals. Teams are preparing. The good thing is 76ers are getting better, while some teams are now getting worse because injuries are now coming. Like in Minnesota, 2 major injuries to Edward, who is their best player, has set them back a little bit, even though they struggle to finish up this series, beating a very good Denver team. So generally for me, I'm looking at the structural landscape. It looks like Minnesota will be a weaker team going into this because they have lost their best player, who is also their starting point guard, in Anthony Edwards. But I think they still have what it takes to muzzle out and maybe do 5 games just to give Anthony Edwards an opportunity to come back and help the team. But even if he comes back, they are facing a very, very good team in San Antonio Spurs. We have Dylan Harper, we have Champagne, we still have Harrison Barnes, we still have Darren Fox. It's a complete team. It's ready for the playoffs. And when Beyama, even with his injury, they still have a lot of talent on the bench so that they can rest him a bit better. So that being said, I can say clearly that the landscape is changing and I'm really looking forward to the semifinals. Watch out for the semifinals and let's see how it goes. Thank you very much. Your host was again on Live Analysis Maple Sports, Taiwan Ojobi. Ciao.